Hi everyone, and welcome to your daily horoscope and tarot reading. Today we have a very active and powerful sky where the predominant celestial conversation is the sextiles Mercury holds with several other power players, but we also have the ongoing square between the conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn and the conjunction of Sun and Eris in Aries, and this is quite a heavy energy of psychological purge. On one hand, Pluto and Jupiter represent the truth, they represent authenticity, they represent revelation of secrets, things that were hidden from our sight. So, how this plays out on the world stage is pretty obvious for all of us. I have spoken about it several times in my previous horoscopes, so today I'm deciding to focus more on the individual and the psychological implications. Because this is the energy of melancholy, this is the energy of depression, this is the energy of rage, of inner frustration. So, these planets, the power of the square, is inviting us to look at deep and profound truth in our lives. Now, these truths might have to do with other people because in my culture, and I'm a Hungarian, they have a saying that tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. So it means that other people in our lives reflect back at us our own tendencies, whatever we project onto them, and observing from a place of detachment, from a place of maximum objectivity, can reveal to us our hidden obsessions, our hidden unhealthy desires, our own aggressiveness, our own intolerance, our own psychological filth which we project onto others because we were hurt ourselves at one point in our lives. And it may be that we are enacting that hurt, whatever was done to us, without even knowing. So, this energy, even though it's hard, it is heavy, it is unpleasant, it gives us the chance to look at ourselves and who we actually are. And if we might find out that we're not enacting, we're not embodying, we're not projecting the truth of who we are at our cores, because the sign of Aries has much to do with the primordial self, who we are genetically, what is our basic personality archetype, who we are born to become. And if we are not authentic to that, and if we haven't searched for the truth in this perspective all our lives, then this celestial conversation is a perfect opportunity to do this, to find out who we are, and that gives us the power to project onto others exactly who we are in total honesty without falling, maybe involuntarily, into the illusions of ourselves or society or of other people. Now, Pluto has much to do with power, and we may see during this time if we are squandering our powers, if we are giving them away freely to other people, or if we are abusing our powers, because Pluto is also the planet of manipulation. It gives you a psychological advantage to figure out what is going on in the mind or soul or the heart of the other person, and by knowing, by may it be practical psychological knowledge, may it be life experience, may it be intuition, you still hold the power, and now you're invited to decide what you want to do with that power. Now, with that power, you can be honest and help them constructively, or you can just tell them whatever they like to hear and reap the benefits. So, this is a really tricky energy because it purifies you with reflection. It gives you the power to operate on yourself from a psychological perspective and remove everything that you're not comfortable with, may it be good or bad, because some people just give their powers away freely in order to please other people, and it is pleasing other people, being relevant and valuable in the lives of others, is the unhealthy desire, is the unhealthy obsession. All of us have this desire one way or another, but the measure makes all the difference if you're doing it in a healthy way or in a rather unhealthy way. Now, the square Mars holds with Uranus, Saturn holds with Uranus is nothing new. I also spoke about this in my previous horoscopes. And basically, what this means is the battle between the old ideology, the old customs, the old traditions, the restrictions, the decisions made by centralized power, which we have to respect, and we may respect it to a certain degree where it is logical and rational to us, but when that rationality is exceeded, then we might rebel. We might evoke our visionary spirit, the ingenuity of our minds, the futurism, the new, the humanitarianism, the equality that should be the guiding principle of all human societies. And if we embody that, we are already being a Uranus challenging Saturn. We are challenging the old, we're challenging the traditional, we're challenging how things used to play out until this present moment. So, this is the chance to embody our own principles, our own uniqueness and distinctiveness, and have a saying, express ourselves. And by expressing ourselves, that is the way we show the whole world and the universe and, of course, centralized power who we are and what preferences do we have. And since centralized power should be nothing more than just a mirror image of our desires, of who we are, they should be our representatives, they should be merely our symbolic representation. They have to respect that because that was the compromise, that was the deal when capitalistic society or any other modern democratic society was built. That yes, they have all the power, they have all our support, they have everything they need to enact our will, our preferences. And right now, Jupiter and Pluto, and even Pallas Athena, and even Chariklo in the sign of Capricorn, and the moon freshly entered there, so it also puts the emphasis of the soul there. All of this is being revealed to us that maybe our chosen ones, our representatives, our politicians, are not exactly enacting our will, they're not exactly expressing our preferences, they're just doing whatever they think is best. And this is already a dichotomy because they might just tell us that, look, you're unprepared, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the experience as we do, so please allow us to make decisions for the highest good because we have all the qualifications we need. But then the people can tell them, and this is the confrontation, well, look, since you are there because you're just our representatives, even if we choose unwise things, even if our own choices and preferences are not logical to you, you have no power over what we feel and think, so you have to enact it. And we might be seeing all throughout today, next week, and the next couple of weeks what this represents, how this confrontation of the old and new, of centralized power and decentralized power, of how these really dual forces are going to balance each other out, so to speak. And this might give us a hint what we can expect in 2021 when the power of the square between Uranus and Saturn is going to be at its peak and it's going to be exact. But we still have a lot of time until that moment. But enough about hard aspects, enough the stress and friction. So let's tap into the more positive aspects held by Mercury. The sextile between Mercury and Saturn is already faint, it's already pretty weak, but it still offers us the ability to ground our thoughts, ground our communication, and have a certain degree of control over what we express verbally. But at the same time, the sextile between Mercury and Mars gives us courage. It gives us the power to influence outer reality, other people, through the internet, through everything that we communicate and share. And it also represents the power of our wills, especially when used in an intellectual way, when you get what you desire, when you obtain whatever you need through your mental processes, through your intelligence, through your intellect, or maybe intellectual labor. But at the same time, the sextile with Venus represents the fertility of our minds, it represents our practical knowledge. So, all of this is really good for documents, for communication, the travel of information, legal, official, financial matters may evolve pretty quickly. You may be guided, inspired, or instinctually know what the right choices are. You can make quick and inspired choices. But of course, this doesn't mean you have to make big decisions, make big life changing choices, because during this present moment, making legally binding decisions, commitments, and all of that is not really encouraged, only if the situation requires it, only if you have no other choice, only if the choice needs to be quick and imminent. Because otherwise, you need to take this time to reflect, to analyze yourself, what you love, what you like, especially with the upcoming Venus retrograde in the sign of Gemini, because that is going to have us question absolutely everything and anything: who, what, why we love, what we do not love, what we reject, what repulses us. So it's going to be a time of great emotional and even intellectual confusion, because it's going to square Neptune at one specific moment. But until that energy can sweep over us and put us into a bubble of confusion, we still have a really powerful clarity, because Venus in Gemini is conjunct Vesta, keeper of the sacred flame, so that means divine guidance. That means that our souls or higher selves or whatever is serving our very best intent, our highest good, and it's giving us really accurate and powerful information. And that is why we have decided to hold a group meditation today, because all of these aspects, and especially Venus trining Mars, a very supremely harmonious energy, can be really helpful to form interhuman connections, to put our minds, our souls, everything that we love into one, basically to tap into the power of the masses and use it to call upon divine help, to set intents, to set goals, to help this situation. Because, as above, so below, and that principle works both ways. So when what is below, as in us, as in physically incarnated beings who are embodying our souls, when we express a big desire, when we call upon help, when we call upon an intelligence which is greatly, infinitely superior to ours, well, then the stars, whatever is above, the divine sphere, has to answer. And this principle was always known by humankind, and that is why religion, spirituality, the metaphysical, and studies, and these pseudosciences, even astrology, exist, because humankind has become aware that this principle functions, and especially in moments of great crisis, when you have no choice to be aligned, to embody your faith, because there is no any other way to fix the situation. So this is our attempt to call in divine help, but of course, not just us. So very many spiritualists, religious people, priests, churches, anything globally are doing the same thing at the same time. So it doesn't matter who you join, it doesn't matter if you do not join any group. Even individual work is absolutely fine, as long as you just desire, in all honesty, with all the power of your emotions and thoughts, to get some help, or to plant seeds of intentions into the universe of whatever you would like to experience in the future, however the future, the world of the future, would suit you and your individual needs the most, and just envisage it, just desire it, and ultimately have trust that it's going to manifest. So, as I said before, it doesn't matter who you join, it doesn't matter how you do it, which way you do it, as long as you just allow your spirit to act through you. As long as you state your preferences when dealing with the universe. Take it like this is the moment when the genie meets you and asks you, well, what do you desire? You have one wish, or maybe more, but let's just say one, because Mars is the power of singularity. And this is the moment when you have to express what you desire. And of course, we had all the year 2019 to reach the wisdom, the maturity, the psychological and spiritual and even scientific knowledge to know what's wrong and right. And now we are at the final exam when we have to show and prove and pass the exam that we do master knowledge, that we do master ourselves, and that it is unconditional love, compassion, equality, humanitarianism that governs us and not greed or anything else. If you'd like to join the event that my friend is going to host, I'll post a link in the description of the video and you can just join. Anyone, regardless of your spiritual path, beliefs, or whatever, is welcome, unconditionally. Now for the tarot reading, it's opened by the Hangman card, and this isn't the very best of news because this represents a Neptunian confusion, which means that some people are just about losing hope. Some people can no longer see the light at the end of the tunnel, and not because they ran out of faith, not because they ran out of inner resources, not because they don't trust themselves or the divine, but because they're bombarded by various different contradicting, confusing informations, may it be from the media, from social media, from journalists, from the official communications of the government and people who handle the situation, because the information, the energy is so mixed that they just can no longer discern what right from wrong. They do not know what to believe. And especially, this also represents that most people have already lost all their belief, trust, and faith in centralized power, especially the scientific part, because the explanations that are presented to them don't make sense, are not truly logical, and have huge gaps which need an answer. But that if that answer isn't provided, they have to search for the answer. So chances are many people are actually browsing, looking at conspiracy theories to find out which one resonates with them the most. Because if the answer is not public, if the answer is hidden or not given, well, they have no choice but to try and make sense of it their own personal ways. Now, regardless of what information they find or what information finds them, it's not having a positive effect on them. It's depressing them, it's confusing them, it's creating a very huge inner stress, which is almost unexplainable, because when your mind receives so many conflicting information, it's like your being, your mind, your soul is torn into 100 different directions, and it's weighing on you heavily. And this is exactly what the Eight of Swords represents, because it is the card of society. And because today's energies are so confusing, so depressive, so melancholic, you might misinterpret the communication that you receive from other people. So you might take certain things as toxic criticism, as challenges, as other people disrespecting your opinion, or maybe disrespecting your rights to the freedom of speech. So this energy represents that it's really hard, at least today, to tell right from wrong, to know who's your friend and who's your foe, to figure out which person wants your highest good and which person just wants to manipulate you or deceive you and lie to you. And this is exactly why the Seven of Cups follows in reverse position, because it means that the communication you are going to receive all throughout today from various different sources is going to evoke certain psychological patterns from the past where other people in the past, in the distant past, have abused your pure hearted nature, your naivety, your idealism, and they might have steered you with their forced advices, may it be family, may it be friends, may it be best mates, whatever, and they steered you in all the wrong directions, and of course, you paid the price. And now these repressed feelings are resurfacing. This isn't the energy of drama, so it's not something too heavy, but it still just feeds your fear. It just feeds your confusion. It feeds your mistrust, where you no longer mistrust yourself because that's the only thing you have right now. Like, if there was ever a situation in life when, at least mentally or emotionally or psychologically, your own being, your own mind, is the only thing and only one you have in your life who you can at least trust, at least support. Well, this situation is definitely now, because no one and nothing else external can be trusted. And this may have a certain logic to it, because this is the situation we're all living, but at the same time, it can evoke certain psychological fears, mistrust. The Seven of Cups is Scorpio energy, so it may force you to investigate, to treat everyone as an enemy, to suspect them, to suspect their hidden intentions. So, to navigate through this really confusing, watery energies, you need to ground yourself in something, and if there's nothing else available, then your inner voice, your inner truth, your own being is perfectly fine. It is more than sufficient. Now, the Nine of Wands reversed and Death card close the reading, and they just tell us one big message. It may seem in the present moment that this change is massive materially, or it does affect the world physically, but you may not see the psychological and spiritual changes. So you may be disillusioned, you may feel a bit left out, like, everyone, humanity as a collective, received this big karmic lesson, but no one learned from it. Everyone is doing pretty much the same thing as they used to. The world is just as greedy, violent, intolerant, toxic as it ever was. So, this is the predominant energy inside of you, and you're perfectly justified to feel this. But that's why the Death card comes and tells you, don't judge yet, because you haven't seen anything. This change is so profound, it is so unavoidable, so karmic, that be almost absolutely certain that the changes, even the psychological ones, are going to take place. No one is immune to change in the present moment. It might take a little bit more time and even more events to open our eyes collectively, so to speak. So be hopeful, because even though you're confused, even though you're justified of feeling confused, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not as bad as it looks. Just hold on and ground yourself in your inner truth if there's nothing else in your life to ground yourself in. Well, thank you so much for listening. Have a blessed and safe day, everyone. Bye for now.